Hi, I'm John Mayfield, the real estate tech guy with another Global Real Estate School podcast. Welcome to the podcast. My name is John Mayfield, the real estate tech guy, and this is episode 094. Well, it has been a great week at Global Real Estate School. We've had a lot of people signing up for the school, but more importantly, I always love the numbers when lots of people are signing up for the school. That's exciting, but what I appreciate more is the fact that we're getting wonderful feedback. Every day this week, I've heard from one or two people who not only have passed the exam, but took time out to either call or write me to say, "Thank you, John. We love the course. We loved your style of teaching," and just appreciated so much what Global Real Estate School provided them. And to me, I am so grateful and honored and thankful for those comments and feedback and for my students. So I just want to say thank you so much. And again, it has just been an awesome week at Global Real Estate School. If you're thinking about getting your real estate license, please check us out at globalrealestateschool.com. And don't forget, we have study aids regardless of what state you might be in. So lots of great information, globalrealestateschool.com, coming to a state where you are soon. That's our goal, okay? But on today's podcast, we want to try to help you learn a little bit about passing the exam. Now, that's not the only thing the podcast is about. If you did not listen to episode 093, be sure and do so. I interviewed my good friend Denise Martin. She is a MAPS coach with Keller Williams, and she gave some great advice for new agents getting into the real estate business, but also some great advice. I have a lot of my really good friends out there listening who are seasoned real estate agents, but hey, we all go through slumps in our real estate career, or those seasons that are not as prosperous as we would hope they would be. So there's some good information for you as well. So check out episode 093 with Denise Martin. But on episode 094 today, we are going to talk about a limited partnership. So what in the world is a limited partnership? Well, it's an agreement between a group of individuals or investors who form a partnership, but it's a little bit different than a general partnership that I will talk about on tomorrow's episode. Whereas with a limited partnership, you, as a partner, are only liable for the amount of your investment. Now, I've seen or heard, I guess I shouldn't say that because I could get in trouble, but I read a lot of test questions from test books and textbooks that published questions. And I've seen a lot of questions about investors who put money into an organization and that one person is liable for all of the debts, but what type of partnership or business agreement is this if an investor is only liable for the amount of money that they've invested, okay? Or you may see a test question that says, John, Mary, Bob, and Sue all invest $7,000 each in a company. The company goes bankrupt, and the company owes $500,000 in debt. But John, Mary, Bob, and Sue, I think those were the same people I mentioned, I hope, are only allowed to lose $7,000 each. What type of partner, what type of business venture did they have? They had a limited liability partnership now, or a limited partnership. And why is that? Because they are only liable for the amount they invest. Now, here's some things you need to know about a limited partnership. There is normally one general partner. The general partner oversees the day-to-day operations. The general partner can be liable for all of the debt, okay? So limited partnership, the limited partners would only be liable for the amount they invested. Now, let me give you an example of this. Years ago, there was a company who came to my local hometown. It was called TMI. That was the name of the limited partnership. And it came to town right when the federal government had broken up the phone companies because they kind of felt like some of the phone companies had a monopoly, okay? And it's kind of funny because they broke up the phone companies and then they all start buying each other back up. And now there's just a few phone companies out there, it seems like. But anyway, back then the government broke up. There were like one or two big major players. There was a Southwestern Bell and AT&T. And so they forced them to split up, and they were starting new, smaller phone companies. So this guy came to town, the general partner, I can't remember his name, and he started this limited liability partnership called TMI. And he got 30 different people in the community, my mom and dad were one of them, to invest $7,000 apiece. So to start this new phone company in the local area. You know, it was like when the cable TV was first coming out. A lot of people invested in that. They made lots of money. So, you know, my mom and dad didn't have a lot of extra money, but they were kind of talked in and to making this investment. They invested $7,000. It was maybe 6 months to a year later. They were not hearing from this general partner who had encouraged all of these people to invest the money. Later, they found out the company was going bankrupt. They owed all this debt. No one could find this guy. My mom and dad were really concerned and worried because they were part of this TMI, and it was going belly up, and they heard there were hundreds of thousands of dollars in expenses, and they were worried they might be responsible. But because it was a limited liability corporation, those 30 people were not liable. They only could lose their $7,000. Now, the general partner who convinced the 30 people to invest $7,000, he was responsible for all of the debts. But the limited partners could only lose up to the amount that they had invested. So for the exam, here's what you really need to know. Limited partnership, you are only liable for the amount that you invest into the limited partnership. You have no say-so in the operations of the business, okay? It's overseen by the general partner. The general partner is liable for all of the debts, okay? But limited partners only liable up to the amount they invested. Limited partners, no oversight, no say-so in the day-to-day operations, all handled by the general partner. And the other thing I would kind of put in your memory bank for a limited partnership is that it is normally the method that's used in what's called a real estate syndicate. So if someone wanted to get people to put $10,000 a piece and they were going to go out and buy real estate, invest in real estate, they were forming a syndicate, what's called a real estate syndicate or a real estate investment trust. Sometimes you normally would see a limited partnership created to form that type of real estate venture. So I've seen some questions that have that terminology in there. So if you pick up on a word that's called a syndicate or a real estate investment trust, and one of the choices is limited partnership, what type of business organization is it? It's a limited partnership. So hopefully you've got some tips, and these are, again, they're going to give you questions and scenarios, and you've got to be able to go in there and figure out, okay, what type of business arrangement is this? And if you can pick up little things like, well, they're only liable for the amount they invested, it's a syndicate or a real estate investment trust, or there's a group of people who have no control over the day-to-day operations, and there is one person who is running the day-to-day operations, and they could be responsible for all of the debts of that's a limited partnership. In fact, tomorrow, before we go on to general partnerships, I'll just find a couple of questions and we'll go over those on tomorrow's podcast. Well, as always, thanks for listening to the podcast. Please be sure and subscribe to our podcast. Feel free to ask any questions you might want. I'll be glad to answer those. I'd love for you to give us a 5-star review. And if you know anybody thinking about getting their real estate license, send them to Global Real Estate School, whether they are in one of our approved states or not. We have information that can help them pass the real estate exam. Thanks for listening. Go out and make it a great day. And don't forget what a limited partnership is. We'll talk more about it tomorrow. Thank you for listening to the podcast for Global Real Estate School. I'm John Mayfield, the Real Estate Tech Guy. Go out and make it a great day.